Hey, Kyle here. In this series, I am dealing with a common challenge for many followers of Jesus. The question, how do I share my faith and not be weird? Or how do I talk about my faith and it not be awkward? In the last video, I encouraged you to be honest by telling the truth and to share your thoughts and opinions while not being opinion telling. In today's video, I will elaborate on one type of spiritual content you will want to avoid and one type you should share as you have conversations with others. It's in opportunities that your active faith will aid in what you share. Sharing real change and not church slang is the very first way to talk about your faith. You will want to avoid church slang. Words or phrases such as fellowship or blessed, better than I ought to be, let's do life together, safe for the whole family, traveling mercies, God is in control, or God works in mysterious ways. While that list isn't exhaustive, I hope you get the idea. Some of these phrases can appear empty and vague. They can appear non-specific. We use general phrases to avoid depth and nuance because we want to avoid conflict, avoid friction with others, maybe even appear spiritual, or are afraid of being put on the spot to clarify our answer. And we hope that these generalities or phrases will enable us to move the conversation on without making us look too foolish. When a worldview question comes your way, why you've made a decision, how you plan to make a decision, or how you are thinking through a decision, provide opportunities to move the conversation in a spiritual direction. Your followership of Jesus should inform your decision-making process. This is precisely the opportunity we want to pivot the conversation towards a spiritual conversation so that you can talk about your faith. So share real change by sharing a story of change, of transformation. While this may feel daunting at first, you don't have to be a gifted storyteller to communicate a powerful story. The followership of Jesus that we have undergone is one of personal change and transformation. So any little bit of change that communicates humility, honesty, and sincerity will help the others who you are in conversation with be open to Jesus. Share where your faith has made or is making a difference. Share how the Bible is changing your perspective on an issue. Share how the way in which you see yourself is different because of Jesus, which has enabled you to act differently. This is about sharing that transformation, not information. You're not looking to argue or prove a factual point. You are simply sharing experientially how your followership of Jesus has moved you from a thought process or way of life into a new way of thinking and a new way of life. However momentous that may be or however minute that may be, any little bit of change takes people on a journey with you. Because a behavior should have changed or perspective should be different now because of your followership of Jesus. These stories don't all have to be wins. Doubts, fears, loss are all powerful when they are reshaped through the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. We teach at Generations to say, because of Jesus, and then finish that sentence. Maybe that's helpful for you. As you think through why you make a decision or your thought process behind it, you're able to say, because of Jesus, or now because of Jesus, and finish that sentence. 2 additional strategies for telling changes in your life through story that are bite-sized and can be elaborated on later. First, identify the key idea or concept that describes what life is like or who you were before you met Christ that fits in with the theme of the conversation. Then the fact that you came into relationship with Jesus. Make sure that's clear. And then that keyword or concept that describes what life is like as you are walking with Christ, that contrasts or provides a more full expression of that initial idea or concept. So maybe it's hopes, dreams, fears, failures. You can take that idea of concept and reframe that through your relationship with Christ. And you want that to be honest. My guess is there's some tension in your gut right now. What if you don't have a story or aren't sure that something in your life points to your followership of Jesus? If you are an active follower of Jesus, you have those stories. So don't feel the pressure to come up with those on the spot. The second strategy is identify 1 to 2 stories or situations in your life where you have changed, where Jesus has made that difference. And every so often, update these stories regularly. Here's a helpful aid to come up with these stories. Use these 4 phrases to help you frame that story. God is, name an attribute or character of God. 2, name what God does in light of that attribute. 3, therefore I am. Who are you now because of the way God has acted? And then 4, so I do. How do you respond based on who Christ has said you are? Remember, if you are sharing honestly, then it won't matter if the words don't come out perfect or you mess up the story a little or you trip over your words. There may be some tension. There may be some awkwardness after you share, or someone might even just brush it right off and go on to the next subject. Don't seek to eliminate this tension, this awkwardness, or this move on the conversation. However, a follow-up question might be helpful here. Asking the person that you are in conversation with how what you shared sits with them. If they have had a similar experience of change in their life. In the next video, we'll discuss a second type of spiritual concept that you will share. But first, share real change, not church slang. If this video was helpful, please like and share. Be sure to check out more videos by the team at Generations Church. We want your faith to be an everyday faith.